What's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie again, and it's the third Monday. So, y'all know it's the brand new development series brought to you by J&F Enterprises, which is my company, and also Black Professional Men, whose mission it is to ensure the future of the African American male. And how we do that is by bringing you just knowledge, information, resources that assist you in not only your personal development, but also in your professional development and all of those great things, specifically for men, but not just for men. I'll say that. I'll say it like that because I don't want my guest that I got here with me to get mad at me. but no, this is this professional development, this personal development are tools, hopefully, and just knowledge and information and resources that you can use as an entrepreneur, as a career builder. If you're working for someone in 9 to 5 and you're looking to build a career, all of those things, we want to give you those tools so that you can be who it is that you need to be. And y'all know my mission, my purpose is always to make you better by the end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year. And by bringing you just shows like this, podcasts like this, I hope to be able to do that, to make you better after this conversation than you were before this conversation. And I'm gonna have a conversation today, and it's right up my alley with this young lady. For some of y'all, she's not a stranger at all. Y'all seen her before, and especially if you're here in the Baltimore area and you're dealing with money and you're trying to have your business and finances together, she's the person that you want to get to know too. And she is all right. She's the Tom. She's trying to be the Tom Joyner of the king of the kingdom, traveling and moving and doing all kinds of things. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about who she is, and then we're gonna get into our conversation tonight. Just talking about entrepreneurship, talking about Christian entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur in this space and how we go about doing it. So we got a great hour set aside for you all. She's traveling too, so I'm want to be cognizant of her time and everything like that. So I want to welcome her, and I want everyone to meet. And if you don't know you all, if you hopefully you will know Miss Lyndsae Peele of Kingdom Vision Consulting. Miss Lyndsae.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. McKenzie, for having me. It is such an honor and a pleasure and such a great joy to be here on this evening. Thank you so much to J&F Enterprises, because Jesus never fails. Also want to thank Black Professional Men for all of the great work that they are doing to really support and motivate and encourage our African American men out here, because we need it. Again, it's a blessing to be here. My name is Lyndsae Peele. I am the founder and principal consultant of Kingdom Vision Consulting. We are a financial services firm that specializes in CEO financial planning. And we do that by focusing on 5 key areas of finance known as class, credit worthiness, long-term wealth, asset protection, strategic banking relationships, and strategic asset accumulation. We have a very specific focus on the CEO of color, okay? Because most of us did not grow up having financial conversations at the dinner table. Most of us are not trust fund babies. So it is imperative that we learn how to not only take care of our personal finances, but also our business finances as we are looking to grow and build our enterprises.
Yeah, you did not call me Mr. McKenzie, did you? You did not call me Mr. No. Call me
Dr. McKenzie, it's the Southern Belle in me, okay? I can't take that away. I can't get rid of it. It's just what it is.
Absolutely, yeah. But please call me Leroy, okay? Yeah, all I say is Mr. McKenzie, even though he was Elder McKenzie, he wasn't a doctor, but that's my daddy. That was my daddy.
Yes,
But I appreciate that. But you are such, for those that haven't, and I've read your bio. I was going to say resume, but your bio. but you are such an accomplished woman. And I want to start, if we can, I want to start the conversation off with what got you started into entrepreneurship. Is that something that you've always wanted to do, or is that something that you kind of grew into wanting to do?
It's funny because it definitely was not something that I dreamed about growing
Hmm,
up.
okay.
My parents are entrepreneurs. If most people have heard me speak, you've heard me talk about my parents. They are my pet. They are why I do the work that I do. My father's a plumber. My mom has been running the business for over 20 years. So I grew up in the house and on the back of a small business.
Mhm.
And when I was a kid, I was not interested. Mommy would want to teach me how to write invoices and learn the business. And it was not something that interested me at all, to be honest with you. Um, However, once I started, matriculating through my studies at Howard University, I started working at the bank as a part-time teller at the end of my junior year. And
Mhm.
I also started to just love being able to pour into entrepreneurs from the financial perspective. It wasn't until the end of 2020, during the pandemic, during a large bank merger, where I was laid off of my job and I was trying to figure out what's next for me.
Mhm.
And, God really just downloaded in my spirit that He wanted me to start a business to do this really the same work that I was doing in the bank anyway, right?
Mhm.
Let's make that known. And He gave me the name. He told me who I would serve, how I would serve them, what we
Wow.
would talk about. So it's my entrepreneurship journey has truly been divine. It has been of the kingdom. It was not something that I had planned for years, that I had created this elaborate blueprint and was like, oh, no, it was none of that. I say I was forced, I was pushed into entrepreneurship because honestly, I would have never, left the comfortable seat of corporate.
Mm,
Honestly,
mm.
I would not have. So He knew that, the gift that He had given me, He knew what was ahead of me. And He said, you know what? Let me give you a little nudge because I know you're not going to do it on your own.
Yeah, and sometimes he'll do that to us. He'll give us that little push, that little nudge, be like, let me help you out. And it
That's right.
reminds me, and
That's
I'm gonna tell you a quick story of my dad. When I was younger, when I was little, I went to the he was a director at this camp here in Baltimore over at
right.
Johns Hopkins. It was a camp that kids went to, and they had to do the activity. We got to play softball, baseball and swim, and just kind of keeping us busy. But I love the camp. I learned how, or he taught me how to play chess there. But part of the thing that we had to do was to learn how to swim, right? And you got because they have the different levels of it where you were a beginner, a swimmer, an advanced swimmer, and you had to do certain things in order to be able to do that. So I'm going through the thing to become a swimmer, and you have to do your certain things down in the shallow end. I'm good. I'm good doing everything that I need to do, all of those things. So it came time for the test. And with the swimming test, to pass the test, you had to go into the deep end. You had to jump in and tread water for 20 minutes. Lindsay, it's my turn to step up, right? I'm standing on the side of the pool, literally did not move, did not move. So my dad is one of the instructors. So he comes up, he says, give me your hand. Of course, it's my dad, I'm gonna give him my hand. Pulls me and throws me into the pool. I, I go in, bounce right back up, and start treading water. And sometimes we're like that, where we get to that edge where we feel like, we want to do something, but we're hesitant about doing it. All right, God, I'm not sure. Do you really think this is what you want me to do? Is this where you want me to go? And He will literally push us, He'll nudge us or take us by the hand and say, go and do. And once we get over that initial fear, we realized I had, and this is what I realized, and what he told me too. He said, you had all of the tools. You were doing everything that you could do up here down in the shallow end, but you were comfortable in where you were, and the deep end made you feel a little uncomfortable until it was that you went into it and you realized your skills that you had and that you got equipped with, you had them and they just came out instinctively. So when you were talking about that, I thought about that instance with my dad and everything like that. Oh, you're muted, Lens. You're muted.
You said a lot of important points, one of which is that your dad knew. Your daddy already knew what you had in you, right? It was just something that you couldn't see and understand in yourself. And
Yes.
that's how I believe we operate with God, right? He already knows what we have, He already knows what has been placed inside of us. We just don't always know. And sometimes we might know, but we're just not as confident
Right.
in
Right.
ourselves and our ability to react and to respond. So thank you for sharing that. It's so
Yeah.
relevant, very
Yeah.
timely.
It really is. And you know, we do. And even, I mean, you know, this entrepreneurship journey,
Yes,
it is one of constantly doubting, am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right direction?
yes, sir.
Is this gonna work? Am I
Yes,
good? I've had this, am I good enough? Is
am
this
I
good
good?
enough?
Yep.
You know,
Do
those
I
things
have
that,
the tools and
right,
resources?
right, right. And you know, and that becomes, and I was watching a YouTube of Anthony O'Neill. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. But he had this gentleman on there that I was watching, and he was saying that, you know, as entrepreneurs, and even just as people wanting to achieve in our careers and everything like that, when it comes to us moving forward, we do hesitate sometimes, and we do doubt ourselves, you know, when if we were to look at the skill sets that we believe in, the skill sets
Yeah,
that were gained, believe
yeah,
in the resources that we're using or that have been put in our place to use, you know, how we would want to move forward. But we kind of just we do it because we're afraid of, I think we're afraid of failure, you know, a lot of times, and we want
yeah,
things to work out, you know, all the time. When sometimes the
yeah,
failure is the or the not being successful is what we needed in that moment, you know, in
yeah,
order to be able to learn from it and say, wow, okay, instead of that, it should have been this. This is going to make
yeah.
it better, you know. So yeah, so I just think about that all the time. Now, what's been now I want you to talk about that transition,
Yeah.
if you can, moving from the 9 to 5
Yeah.
and moving into to this entrepreneur space. How is that? What does that look like for you? How has that change been for you?
It has been very much so a spiritual journey. One, of course, where I've doubted myself, you know, had a lot of insecurities. That's when I really figured out how confident and or not confident I was in myself and what it is that I can do. I struggled, you know, I
Mm,
struggled a lot. I struggled a lot when it came to just mentally being prepared for the assignment.
mm,
Because when you are operating in kingdom, it's an assignment, you know, it's you start to really discover your purpose, and it brings more out of you, it stretches you,
mm,
but the point of the stretch is for you to realize that you cannot solely depend on yourself. You have to depend on Christ, your creator, the one who gave you the assignment, right? So it has definitely forced me to spend more time with God, spend more time in my word, in prayer, and really understanding what is it that He will have me to do. It has definitely forced me to spend more time getting to know who Lyndsae is. What
Mhm.
does Lyndsae like? What are your skill sets? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? What are some of your character traits that you don't always want to talk about, right? Because it shows up as an entrepreneur. It shows up on a regular basis in your
Mhm.
leadership and your work and your conversations with clients and your tasks, right? So it took me some time to really understand me and who I needed to be to show up as. Um, Financially, it's definitely been a transition too.
Yeah.
Going from
Yeah.
having, biweekly paychecks
Right.
and benefits to providing that on your own.
Right.
And it hasn't been easy, but when you are obedient, God will provide. And I have not lacked. I have not gone without. I have had more than enough. And it's truly been a blessing, but a spiritual journey to say the least.
Yeah, and I love that. I love it because it is. I mean, it's this entrepreneurship. It is, the whole thing is a journey, but especially but those of us who are Christians and really truly are what we believe, like you said, on an assignment. It's not everybody, not every entrepreneur believes that they are on an assignment, but those specifically of us that are of the Christian belief and lean on God in this walk. It is about leaning on Him, like you said, spending more time with Him, trying to make sure that what we do is in alignment with what He wants us to do. And because I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to do this. This is not. I need you to tell me what it is that you want me to do. So I ain't trying to screw it up. I'm not trying. I'm trying to. I am not.
Because we will, flesh will, man
Right.
will step in,
Yep.
and when we do it our way, it doesn't work. But when you're truly driven by a purpose and when you're truly driven by the spirit, man, and that connection that you have with him, when you really get to the point where you understand that you have to let go and let God and allow him to be the captain of your ship, allow him to really be the CEO of your business and you are the COO, right? You are just the physical person here on the ground. Life and business starts to flow very,
Mm.
very, very differently for us. But you have to be willing to truly just to let go and to say, what is it that you will have me to do? I want you to show up, right? Just use me as the vessel and you show up. Yeah.
Now, if you can, I want you to tell everyone um, the name of your business, and I want you to
Yeah.
tell them, if you can, just a little bit about your business, and I also call it, and I don't know if you consider it to be a ministry as well, but but if you can.
I mean, well, I do believe that when he gives you gifts, they are your ministry, right? So
Mhm.
my business, I guess, would be my ministry. Kingdom Vision Consulting. We're a boutique firm, right? But we have a specific niche in working with the Black or brown entrepreneur, right? That person who is, the chief executive officer in their business, but who's also balancing life as a parent, as a spouse, as a community servant, and whatever other roles that you play. But most importantly, as an innovator, as a person who creates solutions to everyday problems around us, right? And what we do is we take that entrepreneur and we get to understand their financial pain points. What is it that keeps you up at night, right? What is it? What are those things that that you desire to accomplish financially and you just can't, whether it becomes lack of resources or the lack of the financial professionals to assist you, or sometimes just the lack of being able to dream bigger. And we have those very intent conversations and we connect them to financial resources. I consider myself the bridge between the entrepreneurs and the financial professionals and the resources that they need in order to grow their businesses and create personal financial legacies for their families. Um, we focus on these five particular areas of finance known as class because they are key if you really want to be able to create a sustainable business. But beyond that, if you want to create a business that can be used to help enhance and elevate your family's financial trajectory. So just thinking about credit worthiness as an entrepreneur, it's so important to take care of your personal credit. Also, are you building business credit? Do we have what it takes? Do we have the resources to tap into OPM, other people's money, to make sure that we can grow and expand our enterprises? Long-term wealth. Are we having retirement conversations? Are we thinking about the next chapter, right? We can't just focus on the day-to-day, the month, the year-to-year. We have to focus on 10, 20 years from now. If not, we won't have anything, right? And we'll be 80 and 90 years old checking receipts at Walmart, not because we want to, but because we have to, right? So making sure that we're having those long-term wealth conversations. Asset section. Do we have proper insurances, both personally and for your business? Are we estate planning? Are we protecting those assets that we have worked so hard for? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have your power of attorney documents in place, right? These things are so important and we don't focus on them as much as we need to. Strategic banking relationships. Do we have a business banking relationship? Do we have a business banker? Do we have an institution who can believe in us and help us connect the dots between the financial resources that we strategic asset accumulation? Are we accumulating assets that can help us versus liabilities?
Yeah, and
I know that was a lot in a nutshell,
but everything that you said is what needed to be said, because I'm sure you found, and I want you to expound on that. Expound on it about why those conversations aren't being had in our entrepreneurship, people of color, Black people, in our particular realm. Why aren't we having those conversations? And even to add on to what you were saying about the succession planning, how are you planning on exiting? How are you planning on leaving your business, whether it's to to an inheritance, whether leave it to a child or to a family member, or if you want to sell it? Why aren't those conversations being had?
So a few things. One, we have trust issues. So we don't trust banking institutions and the people who work for them to even initiate these conversations. We have trust issues with our families and sometimes our communities to where we don't want to talk about finances. Like talking about finances is like pulling teeth, right? It's almost like forbidden language. However, we have to talk about it because we have to be able to share and connect the dots with the resources. Three, lack of resources. Honestly, while there are a ton of resources in the community, and a lot of them free, like Operation Hope, right? They offer small business training, also personal finance training, complimentary, right? You also have, your CDFIs, these community development financial institutions that, yes, provide capital, but they also provide technical assistance. You have the Greater Baltimore Urban League, who has an entrepreneur center. So we have a number of resources around us. We just don't always know how to gain access to them. We don't know the who, the how, the where. A lot of times I said it's not always what you know, it's who you know. You got to know the people who can get you in the rooms with the other people to make things happen, to share those resources. Those are just a few things, but also we got to think about our lineage and the generations that came before us. They weren't having these conversations, so we can't just expect ourselves to just be born and start naturally wanting to have these conversations. We have to want to learn and put ourselves in position to find these resources.
Wow, and I like that. I like that. And I mean, you were right on point when it comes to us having trust issues, and I think everything kind of flows from that. You say grandmama and them putting the money under the mattress and all of those good things. So I like that, and I want to go from not just dealing with the Christian entrepreneur, which is what we're talking about. I want to deal with the and we'll tread lightly because we ain't trying to ruffle too many feathers, but y'all know me. I don't care. I'm gonna say it because it needs to be said. But when it comes to the church and the church doing what it's supposed to do from a financial perspective, and one, let's say teaching entrepreneurship, but also using every congregation that a church has, I'm quite sure, has entrepreneurs in their congregation. How do we get pastors to understand, or what has been your experience with getting pastors and entrepreneurs to understand the importance of creating the generational wealth that I know that you talk with people about all the time, in this 21st century and moving into further into the 21st century?
Don't get me in trouble.
I know. Don't worry about it. Just blame me. Blame me. Because I talk about it all the time. So
A big thing that we have to start with is we have to self-examine.
Mm.
And building generational wealth, providing resources, connecting the community to the resources that they need, it's a selfless act. It's selfless. And it takes a heart of servitude.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people in ministry who don't necessarily exude that, right? Let's just be honest. We have some people in the pulpit where that's their stage for them to perform. The offering is an opportunity for them to line their pockets.
Right.
That's an issue with our churches. Another thing is that a lot of times we're not even operating churches on the back end like a business. So they're not even financially in the correct place, right? Correct. That's why we have so many musicians who go unpaid and or receive checks net 30, net 60, right? When that shouldn't be the case, right? The church wants us to serve and to do from our ministry, but the church isn't always following through with their ministry.
Correct.
Right. Correct. And it starts from the top, it starts from the pulpit. But until we start having these tough conversations, until we start putting people in uncomfortable positions, we're not really going to see change. Because really, the church should be that community pillar, that community anchor that is connecting the dots between the people, their needs and desires, and the communities and the resources that they need. We need more community fairs. The churches should be the first places that we're having financial summits, that we're having community resource fairs, that we're having food giveaways. That's a big part of being the body of Christ. But a lot of people have lost their way. A lot of people, becoming a pastor, leading a church has become more bad. It has become more of an occupation, more of a title to be proud of versus a place of servitude. And until we correct some of that stuff in the pulpit, the people in the church ain't gonna get what they need for real.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, it goes back to that trust issue thing that you were talking about, because a lot of people, that's why a lot of people don't trust the church. I'm not going to that church. Look at they doing exactly the same thing that folks out here in the world are doing. But even from and I
because church.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said this, and I've said it to some pastors as well. I've said this. I said, you all got the theological down on lock. You got it on lock. I said, but the business aspect of the church is where, you need to, what needs to be worked on, because it is a business. I get it. We don't, that it operates in a certain way, but at the same time, that light bill still got to be paid, just like the house next door. You know what I'm saying? You still got to pay that light bill, still have to pay the mortgage, and you still have to pay other bills. So it is a business, and you have to understand that. Now, like we said, there's a certain way that you operate within that, but you also have that understanding that yes, this is a business. These are the things that we must have in order. so that we can function, so that we can assist our members and the community to function. Because it does, it's almost like when they tell you on the airplane, put the mask on first. If you don't have it on as the church, how can you expect your members and the community that you are a part of to, you can't do anything for them. You cannot do anything for them if you aren't doing the things for yourself. And you aren't operating, it does you no good, to say, well, I don't do this, I don't do that, and the lights ain't on. Can't nobody come to the church? Then what? you know, then what? So it's hope. I hope those that are watching, specifically pastors, those that are running churches, that you understand that this 21st century, to me, way of doing business, and I talk about it. And we're going to get into those 5 pillars because I really want you to talk about those in a little bit. But I have a book on the art of leadership, and I talk about what leadership looks like from the family, from government, education, business, and the church. Those are the 5 pillars of any community. If you look at any community, that's what it's comprised of. And any community that is strong, that is flourishing, I promise you, those 5 pillars are in place. And that main pillar, like you were saying, is usually the church. If that church is a stronghold in that community is strong itself too, because the church is able to get all of the other components involved in with each other, where they co-mingle with each other. And like you were saying, that's what the church used to be. So I'm gonna take you there. What do we need to do in order to get the church back there in this 21st century and see that? What would be your suggestions or things that we could give us? Just 3 things that you think could be done.
I think that we need to, as a church, ask the communities what they need, get more involved, having more events, inviting them out, pounding the pavement,
Yeah.
I used to knock on doors back in the days, hand out flyers to come visit the church down the street, etc. We have to get back out there, right? And really really posture ourselves to meet people where they are. Another thing that we need to do is church leadership. We really do need to put programs and resources and things in place for current members so that members also see the value of still being a part of the church, especially because it's a lot of competition out there nowadays. COVID has opened up a virtual world where a lot of people aren't going into the church house anymore. I'll tune in online, I'll pay my tithes online and keep it moving. But if you really want people to be a part of the body of Christ, bring more things in, bring more resources in, bring more programming in. And I'm talking about beyond Vacation Bible School, right? Beyond, small conferences or Pastor's Aid weekend. We need more tangible resources and programs that cater to the people that we are looking to serve. And then another thing is really being in a position to sharpen our leadership. I believe that, the pulpit, missionaries, the deacon board, if you serve in a position of leadership, you need to continuously be sharpening those leadership skills. Just because you get that title, you're in that seat, doesn't mean that you are holier than thou. It does not mean that you have it together. You need to have annual leadership retreats need to be in place to continue to educate our leaders on how to become better leaders, how to become better servants, how to take care of their people. So one, investing in the educational leadership of the leadership board. 2, bringing out more programs and resources that actually cater to the body of Christ, but also the communities around. And 3, get out there, get on the street, right? And really talk to those communities. A lot of these churches are in communities, are in residential communities. Those neighbors should know who you are as the pastor and first lady. Get out there and talk to them and figure out what is it that they need. Why aren't they in the house of God? What are they need? Are they hungry? Do they want to start a business and don't have access to resources? Figure out what they need so that the church can put together those programs and resources, and or bring other people who already have them into the church to provide to the community.
Yeah, yeah, and I love it. I call it a new approach to sin, but here it is. It's not SIN, it's CIN, which is commitment to impacting the needs of the community. When you
Mm,
when you think of what your congregation needs, like you said, talking to them, but then also moving outside of the church and saying, hey, I'm in this community. How can we best serve? There's that word again. How can we serve the community that we are a part of so that they do have the needs? So that we are able to meet their needs. And like you were saying, having different programs, but then also being engaged with the communities that you are in as a church, as an entrepreneur. Even if you are a member of a church and an entrepreneur in that church, you should be connected to that church, but you should also be connected to that community because you come to that church. So find out if that means, as an entrepreneur, you go to your pastor. Hey, pastor, I have my business. What can we do to assist you in being able to do what we need to do in this community? How can I help? How can I serve in that capacity? Because I promise you, the resources that you bring to the table, I don't believe there's going to be one pastor that'll tell you, "No, we don't need that." Right? I highly doubt that you will find a pastor that will turn an entrepreneur away when it comes to trying to meet the needs of the community that your church is a part of. I promise you, whether it's an entrepreneur, and I say teachers, any plumbers, plumber, being a plumber, electrician, anybody that has a resource that you can be in your church, you should be assisting your pastor in being able to meet the need. So that if somebody in the church does need an electrician, hey, if they call the church, they know they can call so-and-so's business because he's an electrician. They can call so-and-so because, she's a plumber or has a plumbing business. Whatever that need is, they're able to actually not only meet the need, but exceed the expectations that they may have. And that's a great way of getting people more involved. I think getting more people to come to the church, because if they know, hey, what I do has some value to the church and to the people that we serve, that I'm either friends with or that I know that may need it, and that allows you to be able to grow in the membership there in the church and everything like that. So, great point that you brought about that. I want to ask you this: what does Kingdom Vision Consulting mean to you? When I say that, what does that mean to you?
it means truly teaching and supporting entrepreneurs on their journey in leading and growing their businesses the kingdom way, right? And not just through the vision of our own that we create ourselves through man's eyes, but being able to create and establish that bigger than us, that's beyond what we can do with our own physical human ability, right? But something that is spiritually led. I want my clients and the entrepreneurs that are called to my voice to really understand that we have a financial future. We have a promise, a wealthy promise ahead of us that it's going to take more than just us to realize. It's going to take more than just us to bring into fruition. So when we think about the kingdom's vision, right, it's beyond what we can see with our human eyes, right? It's about what has been placed on us, the assignment, the promises that have been placed on us that we have to then, in partnership with our work, but also having the faith, right, and following Christ to get there, to be able to see those wealthy bank accounts, to be able to create and to leave generational wealth for our families.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I want to go into those 5 pillars that you talked about, or that you mentioned earlier, and that I know that your business is kind of grounded in. Can you talk about those for the entrepreneur and go into a little bit of detail about what they mean to to what they should mean to everyone, and then what they mean to you and your business.
Yeah, I feel like I might have covered that in when we talked about what is a business. But
Okay.
if I have to mention a few other things, one, as the CEO of your business, specifically thinking about credit worthiness, as the CEO of your business, you have a responsibility to your business. And that is as a person to be an asset to that entity. When it comes to your personal credit, that is extremely important. If you do not have good to great personal credit, your business can suffer from that. That can hinder your business from getting access to capital, from getting that bank loan or that line of credit to be able to grow that business. Some of us wonder why we're stagnant. Some of us wonder why we might get that decline. We have to clean up our front door before we can really focus on the expansion of our business, to be honest. I know that there are some alternative programs out there that don't always require you to have amazing personal credit initially. However, it is still important that you understand how relevant it is for you to have great personal credit, because if you own 25% of that business entity or more, typically most lenders are going to require you to enter in your personal financial information. So they're going to be looking at your personal credit. They're going to be looking at your personal financial statement to see what you bring to the table. Even when we think about building business credit, right? A lot of times your habits are going to mirror. If you have poor financial habits on the personal side, you're probably going to have poor financial habits on your business side too. Like, we don't want to talk about it, but it's a real thing, right? So we want to make sure that we're being very intentional about that. But starting to build business credit, even when you don't necessarily need it, a great rule of thumb that we didn't tell people a lot in the banking world is that typically you get the best approvals when you don't need it. Right. And that's because by that time, you have not maxed out your personal credit cards yet. You haven't exhausted all of your savings yet, right? You have not put yourself in a position to have a whole ton of inquiries. So get it before you need it, so that when you need it, you already have it. Even when it comes to long-term wealth, right? It's so important to invest in your retirement. We should not be in a position to where, we're retiring and our children and grandchildren have to financially take care of us. It's kind of unfair, right? I mean, it's a tough topic for a lot of people. But when we talk about really building this thing, building these businesses, financially positioning ourselves to break generational curses, we got to have those tough conversations. Fixed incomes aren't going to do it a lot of times, right? That Social Security isn't going to always be enough. And the thing is, a lot of people don't necessarily retire from jobs like they used to. Another thing, pensions aren't as available as they used to be. You might find a company to have a pension. You might. Most of them don't. As entrepreneurs, it's even worse because we don't have anyone pouring or matching that 401k contribution. Guess what? You and your company are responsible for that yourself. And a lot of times we trying to figure out, how do we keep the lights on next month? We're not even in the position to put aside extra money for retirement, but we need to, we have to, because we invest so much time and energy in our businesses that we take away from our family to a lot of times leave our family with nothing but more heartache and tears, right? Even when we think about asset protection, it's way too many people having their assets go through probate and they're losing it. Start estate planning now. It's too many people who have GoFundMes, who are having fish fries and selling plates at the church to pay for a funeral. Listen, our families are already going to mourn your loss. They don't need to be mourning your loss and financially stressed trying to figure out how to bury you. Get proper insurance. A lot of times it doesn't even cost you that much money. You waste that money sometimes a month going out to eat, going to brunch, or doing whatever else, right? Have life insurance, the basics. Even if Even if it's a small $10,000 policy.
Yep.
At least that should be enough. 10 to 15,000 enough to bury you. We ain't even talking about having enough to bury you and leaving something to the kid for them to start a business. Listen, that's too much for some people. Let's at least start with the basics and have enough to bury you, cremate you, whatever your choice may be. What we're trying to say is that your family should not be trying to figure out how do they clean up your financial mess once you're gone. And a lot of times we don't want to talk about estate planning because we don't want to talk about death. Listen, it's inevitable. At some point, we all have to face that day. Do your families a favor to prepare for that. Have those tough conversations now, okay? Like it's so hard sometimes to get people to understand the importance of planning for the future, right? We don't want to have life insurance, but we have car insurance. We have homeowners insurance. And guess what? You still paying whether you get in a car accident or not, you still gonna pay every year. It's the same thing. It's covering the what if. It's covering not even the what if you pass, it's covering the when you pass, right? Have those conversations. Start estate planning. We're losing too many of our assets that our grandparents worked hard for purchasing these homes. We're losing too many to the courts. We're losing too many because people aren't paying taxes. Estate plan. Put them in a trust if you can. Put aside that tax money. Family members want to argue on who gonna inherit what, but they don't want to be the ones responsible for paying the taxes. Stop that and start estate planning, putting a plan and a process in place now. Strategic banking relationships, right? We don't always trust the bank, but guess what? We need them. So we got to also learn how to heal, get through our hurts, and learn how to move on. There are plenty of financial institutions out there to choose from. You don't have to choose the one that's been in the news. You don't have to choose the one that's hurt your grandparents. Go find one that works best for you, but you need them. The mattress don't work no more, y'all. The safe don't work. They never really did. The shoebox don't work. Money, cash can still be a depreciating asset because as inflation is increasing, guess what? The value of that dollar is decreasing.
Yep.
Do something with that money. Have these banking relationships. These financial institutions typically have all of the tools and resources that you need, and or they can connect you to the people that do. But we got to establish that relationship. We got to stop walking into that bank and getting upset with the teller when they want to have a conversation with you. Stop being rude and say, I'll talk to them later or I'll meet that banker later. No, do it now because they have something for you. You're doing yourself a disservice every time you walk in and out and don't take advantage of something that they have in there. Strategic asset accumulation. As a people, we know how to accumulate liabilities. We do. We know how to get our tax refund check and go buy that 2005 Mercedes that we're going to have to put $5,000 in to fix within the next 2 years, but just because it's a Mercedes, we wanted it, right? Put your money in something that's going to work for you, that's going to be able to help you make more money. Real estate is a big one. Accumulate something, own your stuff. Ownership is so important. Home ownership, commercial ownership. A lot of times we're leasing these offices or we're subletting these offices, these brick and mortar spaces, paying buku money when we can own that, save that money ourselves and pass it on. And what? Use the equity later on as it accumulates over the years. But we got to have these conversations. We have to open up our mind. We have to debunk that stinking thinking, right? We have to understand that, listen, you can do it too. You are not your past financial mistakes. And you are not your parents, grandparents, aunt, and uncles' past financial mistakes. Every generation should be getting better. But we got to be ready for those conversations.
Lonnie, you just gave a master class in like 10 minutes. I mean, and let me let y'all, let me let this sink in about what you just said, especially about estate planning. You had Aretha Franklin, whose estate was just settled with the taxes that she had to pay, back taxes that she had to pay. How does the Queen of Soul have back taxes? It's because of the relationship that she did or didn't have with her bank. Because if she had a show enough good banker, financial planner, that wouldn't have happened to her. You had, and this broke my heart when I saw this about Chadwick Boseman, his estate with his family, his and you said this, the probate court took half of the money when they didn't have to. They got, it was like 2.5 million out of the 3.8 million that his estate was worth, Lyndsae. I don't know if you read it or not. And then his wife only got 1.5. His other family member, I think his other family members got 1.5. The probate court got more money than his wife and didn't have to. Because and I know people, they may get mad at him, but had he had a will, had he had his estate set up, they would not have, they'd have got some money because they would have had to handle, whatever it is that they had to handle. But they would not have gotten $2.5 million from his money. That could have certainly gone to his wife. That certainly could have gone to his family, and not them. That's what Lyndsae's talking about, y'all. When she says I'm trying to, so that y'all can see a real life examples. And these are folks that got money. This not the average person that's saying, well, I'm struggling and I can't afford to. These are folks that got money, had money, and still. So hope y'all can see the importance of doing it, of having an estate plan, having a will in place with your business, so that those that are, that are left behind, they don't have to worry, and you can leave something to them. And I tell when I talk to men, Lyndsae, and this goes for women too, you should have a folder with all of your documents, all of your planning documents, your will, bank account information. You should put it in a cabinet. That should be someplace, and there should be one, maybe two people that know where that folder is. And all they got to do, if something happens, go to that folder, open it up, and just delegate what needs to be done. You can take care of all of the last wishes that you wanted to have taken care of. It's vitally important that we see that, and it can mean the difference between your business surviving and moving on with that legacy building, wealth building that we're talking about, or that it just totally, falls apart because you have family bickering, because you didn't just, distinguish what needed to go to who or what was supposed to go to who. So now they sitting there fighting over who gonna get the jacket, who gonna get the chair, all of those things. And it's important that y'all, I mean, it's her pillars that are called, you have the acronym CLASS, if y'all didn't catch what she was saying, what she was talking about. And that's the foundation, one of the foundational pieces or pillars that you take people through. And I think that is vitally important. As entrepreneurs, we've got to understand that, and we've got to start having those conversations, because we weren't used to having those conversations, because maybe our parents didn't have it, our grandparents might not have it, so they weren't having those conversations, because you can't talk about what you don't know. So they didn't necessarily know, so they couldn't teach us. But we are now, because of them, their sacrifice, they put us in the position where we do have the means, we do have these assets, we do have businesses that we can leave to the next generation. But if we're not taking care of them and doing what we're supposed to be doing, then we can't. and then it wind up being, you wind up having the state take care of it, is what'll happen, is what'll happen. That's the truth be told, because they'll come in and they will say what we're gonna do with it. This is what y'all gonna do with it. You know, so Lyndsae, thank you for that, for talking about that, for covering those things that we know that we as entrepreneurs, specifically Black entrepreneurs, need to do. Let me ask you, what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur or growing entrepreneur who seeks to create greater impact, or to begin to build that generational wealth that you're talking about? That you talk
about. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Ooh,
because
I love that. I use that.
Talking about money can be a very uncomfortable conversation, and a lot of times we avoid it because it's so uncomfortable. But you cannot attain wealth without talking about how you're going to attain wealth, without talking about the challenges that stand between you currently and the future you. Regardless of how uncomfortable it may be, you have to have those conversations. It's mandatory. 2, get comfortable asking for help. You cannot do it alone, because you cap yourself at what you know. And if this is all you know, you're stuck here. And if the journey to wealth is up here, you can't get there if you don't know how to ask for help, if you don't know how to build what I call a financial dream team. And starting with the basics of bail, right? Bail, BAIL, your business banker, your accountant, your insurance agent, and your lawyer. Those are the 4 basic people that need to be a part of your financial foundation. Then you start adding financial advisors that help you with investing, right? Then you start having people like myself, financial consultants, who help bridge the gap between you and all of those other parts, right? You have to build a team. You cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. Having an accountant and not just a tax preparer, because they are different, okay? They serve 2 different roles and you look at them differently. You need to be having financial conversations at least once a month within your household, and then with your full financial dream teams, at least once a quarter, at least. Not just at the end of the month when it's about time to prepare for your taxes, not just when we run into an emergency and we're trying to figure out which credit card or where we're going to pull from to take care of it. No, it needs to be a part of your regular everyday conversation. Get comfortable with it, because that is the only way you're going to truly be able to build wealth, because you have to plan. Just like you need a business plan in your business, you need a financial plan, both personally and for your business, to achieve your goals, your financial goals. Way too often, we just operating out here. We just going with the flow, willy-nilly. We just out here. We have to stop just being out here and start planning, start doing the work, doing the real work. And that starts with being able to have those conversations.
Absolutely. All right, last 2 questions. What's next for Lyndsae Peele and Kingdom Vision Consulting? What you got going on, or what you got working on?
God is doing some great things. I'm working right now with one of my partners who's in Nairobi, Kenya, in the motherland. We're doing some work within, the metaverse, within the Web 3.0 space. So you definitely, keep your ears locked to the ground to hear more about that. Can't get too deep in the weeds, legally right now. But,
absolutely.
Things are coming. We're looking to become a global financial enterprise, that's really going to help Black and brown people transcend their financial relationships, that's going to help them mature their financial mindsets, right? To really help them create a legacy, and a legacy that they can be proud of, not a legacy of hurt and trauma and poverty, right? We are beyond that. That is no longer okay. We're trying to move past that. We are looking to be that household name, right? That reason that you are having dinner again at the dinner table and having financial conversations, teaching your kids, but also allowing them to teach you. Kids nowadays, they know how to work these smart devices better than some of their parents and grandparents. Instead of playing Roblox all day, instead of watching, cartoons or YouTube videos or whatever they're doing, channel financial information. There are finance videos that they can be watching on YouTube, etc. And we're looking to build an enterprise that really helps to connect Black and Brown communities to those financial resources. We're doing some other things, with our company and trying to develop an app, so we're working on some background things that'll also provide financial resources to those Black and Brown entrepreneurs who don't always feel comfortable going out there and initiating conversations. But if you know Lyndsae, if you know Kingdom Vision, then we want to be that resource to kind of help you peel back those layers to at least get you started. So we have a lot of things unfolding, I'm always praying and asking God for what's next, but also trying to be prepared for what's next. I tell people all the time the business is outgrowing me. So I always ask him, to put me in the position to stretch with the assignment that he has given me.
I love that. I love that. Now, how can people contact you, connect with you if they want to hire a Kingdom Vision consultant? They need to have that conversation with Lyndsae.
Absolutely. So you can get in touch with us first by following me on Instagram at Peele the Real Deal. You can also follow me on LinkedIn at my name, Lyndsae Peele. You can follow the business on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Kingdom Vision Consult. You can also email us if you would like to submit an inquiry. That email address is info@kingdomvisionconsult.com.
I love it. And I told y'all that this conversation is going to be lit. I told y'all it was going to be absolutely phenomenal. Hopefully you took copious notes and wrote down just some of the great nuggets, some of the great information that she gave to you. If not, then if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a pastor, you need to have you need to pick up the phone, go to the website, get the phone number, call Lyndsae and say, I need to have a conversation with you. I need to talk to you about me moving my business, my brand, my church to the next level. How do I do that? And she will be certainly one that will be on your business dream team, as she said, to be able to show you how to be able to strategically plan to be able to move from where you are to where you're trying to be. Because like I told y'all, it's my mission to make you better by the end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year. We're 7 months in now, y'all. We got 6 months left. 6 months left in this year. Where do you want to be by the end of 2022? Where is it that you want to be? And you got to map out how you're going to get there, how you're going to be there. And the only way that you can do that but strategically is by having a conversation with a Lyndsae Peele, the Kingdom Vision consultant, so that they can assist you in being able to get there and be able to be there, even beyond 2022. Like you said, we've got to look beyond 2022. I told people, I said, some people, you got to understand, those that are wealthy are already in 2023, 2024, 2025. They are already there. Some of them are even in 2030. To be real, they're already talking about it. Right. They already see the vision and what it is that they need to do. What you're doing today will affect where you are in 2023. So those are the things. So one more time, Lyndsae, if you can give your contact information, and then we'll just close out, okay?
Yes, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Kingdom Vision Consult. You can go to our website at www.kingdomvisionconsult.com. You can shoot us an email at info@kingdomvisionconsult.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at LPeel the Real Deal. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Dr. McKenzie. I appreciate you for this platform. Shout out to J&F Enterprises because, again, Jesus never fails. And a huge thank you to BPM for always believing in me.
This is Lyndsae Peele, y'all. Miss Lyndsae Peele. Thank you. Thank you again for all that you do, not just for individuals, but for the kingdom. I know that the kingdom smiles down at you and all that you do, being an ambassador for the kingdom. We want to thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of the Brand New Development Series with Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., brought to you by J&F Enterprises and Black professional men whose mission it is to ensure the future of the African American male. That's what we talked about today, ensuring your future. Can't ensure your future if you don't plan for it. That's what we want you to do. Have generational wealth. So it's not just you, but your children's children's children, that it goes all the way down. It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. We'll talk to y'all soon.